Much like what's happened in our food system, our information diet has become toxic. The news and social media we consume is filled with half-truths, anger-generating sound bites, and mind-numbing nonsense that either spaces us out or riles us up, and it's all designed to lure us back for more. It's time to take back control, and this podcast is a 5-minute step in the right direction. 3 days a week, I'll share a short story to help renew your belief in the people and the world around you. Monday, a story from the past. Wednesday, the present. And Friday, you'll head into the weekend with a story to keep you optimistic about our future. Hi, I'm Chris. Welcome to My Good 3. All right, happy Friday. Have you ever been around someone so set in their ways on a social or political issue that they work themselves up whenever they're at home in front of the TV, and they swear they could never trust anyone on the other side? Then this same person spends some time with someone they respect who happens to be on the opposite side of the issue, and after some time together, discussing differences reasonably, their opinion on the issue softens. It's common. Connection and respect goes a long way to bringing people back to a more reasonable position. When we look at the current political divide, where it seems like we have two groups of people with two entirely different value systems, the issues are actually less about values and more related to an erosion of trust. This episode isn't about disagreements over politics. It's about any tricky situation where trust is up in the air. What's reassuring is that this trust deficit is easier to repair than most of us think. However, whether or not we can resolve our issues depends on how comfortable we can get with a little discomfort. It's a shame when good relationships between good people fall apart due to issues with trust. We've all had it happen. Sometimes there are real character issues and it's best to end the relationship and move on, but oftentimes that isn't possible, like in work relationships, between close family, or within social networks. Our preoccupation with trust is substantial. In fact, in our lives, we'll spend a significant portion of our time worrying about trust. And studies have shown that roughly 90% of the time, our concern is unjustified. According to a Pew Research Center survey in 2024, adults in the United States, across the board, are struggling with trust. When it comes to our federal institutions, and I don't think anyone will be surprised to hear this, when adults were asked whether or not they trust the federal government to do the right thing, a whopping 78% said no. According to the center, trust in government has plummeted steadily since 2001. The same kind of statistics were found as it relates to our nation's information sources and scientific and educational institutions. But what about our confidence in one another? Does our lack of trust in our institutions spill over into our confidence in us? In a Pew Research study, 71% of American adults believe that Americans are less confident in each other than they were 20 years ago. Not a shock. When asked the number one reason why they think this is, 60% said politics or government, 12% said social media, and 11% said news media. And when these things aren't causing the problem, it's little things that cause disconnects at work. Like Jacob in accounting telling Lisa that she shouldn't apply for the position, and then sure enough, he does. If there's good news here, it's that we know there's a problem with trusting one another, and nearly 6 in 10 people believe that it's very important to improve it. So we've identified an issue, and the majority of Americans have the will to fix it. But how do we fix it? Rachel Botsman is an Oxford University professor, leading expert on trust in the modern world, and author of the new book, How to Trust and Be Trusted. She outlines how trust is a moving target in relationships, and when there are problems with trust, it's more about the absence of connection than anything else. Before getting into that, it's first important to make sure we understand how distrust works. She outlines distrust developing in 3 phases. The first phase is defensiveness, We know we're in this phase because there's blaming, attacking, or being critical. If not addressed, it could then lead to the second phase, disengagement. This is when there's little motivation to address the problem, or the person with whom trust has dissolved. The third phase, which leads to real problems, is disenchantment, where distrust manifests into resentment and vindictive behavior. According to Ms. Botsman, the rocket fuel for repairing trust is having difficult but respectful and productive conversations. This may seem intuitive, but it's rarely practiced. By identifying what's at stake in the relationship and being very specific about what incident caused the lack of trust, the relationship has an incrementally greater chance of steering clear of disenchantment. But preventing this takes work, and it takes being willing to spend the energy fixing it and feeling discomfort. The reason it works is because by showing you're willing to feel discomfort in a direct conversation, you're showing respect. And when you show respect, you find it in return. Hard conversations are hard, and as a society, our trust in one another pays the price by not having them. It brings me back to the person screaming at their TV, swearing to never trust anyone on the other side, and Lisa stewing in her desk instead of talking with Jacob in accounting. The problem is in the absence of connection that Ms. Botsman identified. It's way too easy to get stuck behind our devices, only listening to the people saying the things we're comfortable hearing. But we can benefit from trusting what we already know, that difficult conversations are the key to respecting one another. If we can only believe again that it's okay to have them. Thank you for listening. I realize this podcast won't be successful without your help. So if you'd like to rate it, or better yet, review it, wherever you get your podcasts, that would really help. And if you're on Instagram, go to @mygood3, THREE, to vote each episode up or down. I'm also excited to read more Good 3 stories from listeners. So just go to our website, mygood3.com, and submit a story of your own from the past, present, or future, or all three. And maybe I'll use it in an episode. Thanks again. Here's to hoping My Good 3 can set the stage for your good week.